Hello everyone, my name is Joanna. Thank you so much for coming back. For those of you who are my subscribers, thank you so much for coming back. For those of you who are new, welcome. I hope whatever you find here you will like, and I hope you stay. Let me just be very brief. Interesting messages in the month of March. For one, they flowed very differently. There seems to be a lot of transformation going on, and I do, particularly in the month of March, and it seems to be consistent with almost every single sign. Very, very consistent. So if you are drawn to a certain sign that you don't necessarily look at, by all means listen and see if there's a message there for you. The messages are not time bound, which means there is no end and beginning. These messages may make sense to you because they have happened. You are in the middle of it happening, or it will happen at some point down the road. So do yourself a favor. If it doesn't make sense to you right away, listen to it in a few weeks' time or even a few months. And from those of you who are regular subbies and subscribers and you do comment, it looks like 98% of you find that this makes sense with as time passes. Also, my focus and intention is always, always, always to give you something to think about that will help you understand yourself more deeply. In other words, my focus isn't on predicting. If an information comes through that is of futuristic nature, I am more than happy always to give. However, my focus is more about helping you understand how you create, how you make things happen. Because the moment you know how to make things happen, you will stop waiting for someone to tell you what's going to happen, because you'll be able to create it. And that is always my aim. That is what I want to teach. That is what I do teach. And that is how Spirit is working with me. What can I give you to help you see yourself as the master of your own creation that you are, so that you can understand? And once you understand, you can create in a different way. So that is always my intention, and I hope that whatever comes through falls with that. Let's put it that way. I think that's all I have for you. Listen to the other signs if these don't make sense. Of course, this is general. It may not fit with everybody, although I'm very surprised how many of you are responding and saying this is exactly what you're going through. So also, very quickly, again, the layout is very different. I don't even have a layout this month, and it was mostly intuitive. So you will see some of the messages. I look at cards, and some of them I don't even look at cards because it's flowing. So the way information is flowing for me is also very different. So I am under also a transformation, if you will. And I think that's all I have. Of course, there's a 6-month projection for you down below from January till the end of June. If you're more interested in that information is there. And more than anything, thank you so much for liking, for sharing, for coming back. For those of you who are new, welcome. I hope you stay. Have yourself a wonderful month of March. And yeah, let's get going. Hello, beautiful Leos. These are going to be your messages for the month of March 2019. And I want to say what an incredible year it has been already. And it is only 2 months into New Year, so I don't know who I'm speaking with. But I feel for some of you, whatever this means, it's been a bit of a whirlwind of events. The word that I received for you for the month of March is observation. And observation is about, well, as the word suggests, it's about observing, but it's with a certain detachment. In order to observe, one has to detach themselves from a situation. And in order to detach and observe, one has to let go of control. So let's see how this flows. I also see a symbol of transformation, which is the proverbial death and rebirth idea. And although it is no surprise to anyone, I'm sure that we are all going through incredible changes as a human race. This change affects each and every one of us, you individually, differently. but it does affect us nonetheless. So you're no different. The springtime for you seems to be very favorable, and it's favorable for many reasons. Number one, it spurs new growth, which ushers new opportunities, but it also brings things to light. So if you have been in the dark about something, if you have been unsure about something, if you have been feeling lack of desire, lack of drive, or let's use this word I use often, stuck. The spring of 2019 proves to be very favorable for majority of you. I'm getting a headache, and I also feel like my head is really, it's just heavy. And this may be for several reasons. You have a lot of pressure in your life. There's a lot of pressure put upon you. You put a lot of pressure on yourself, which we'll talk about that, because the idea of self-sacrifice comes up 3 times for you. And I feel it came up last month as well. So there is clearly some issue when it comes to the idea of sacrifice. And although there is nothing, sacrifice is very noble, and we do things, we do sacrifice certain things in order to get things done or to do things for other people. But sometimes sacrifice can lead to us not dealing with things in our own backyard. So I'll get to it in just a moment. But a month of March is a month of observation, or at least you are being encouraged to observe yourself and your situation almost like from afar. And of course, you still have to be involved in your duties, in whatever it is, responsibilities that you have. But oftentimes we fall into this trap of doing things, and we've done it for so long, we forget why we do it. And there comes a time where the universe says, hey, you've done this for quite some time. Might you want something different? And this something different might be something extraordinary, but because you don't know that, and because it's new and it's, well, let's face it, risky, sometimes it's easier to just stick with what you know. But sticking with what you know does not allow room for growth, because, well, growth usually signifies that we have to get into a place where we open ourselves up to something new, something we didn't know before. So there is a metaphor that's trying to flow through, and this will mean different things to different people. So whatever you get from that, that's fine, and it's up to you. The cards that came up in terms of what's the focus? Between two worlds is a message that comes up in reverse position. And the reason why it comes up, well, first and foremost, between two worlds signifies, guess what? Change. It's the transformation. It's the change of season. It's moving from one place to another. It is, well, no other way to put it by change. And change can feel uncomfortable. The reason why this is showing up, because when we go through change, we may have some perceived ideas of what things should be as this change is happening, or how things should look as a result of this change. But always remember, your idea of how things should look is always based on your current perception of yourself and the world. Therefore, it's only based on what you know. You're not gonna, I think you get the picture. Point is, you're changing, you're no different, you're going through transformation, and there are things you may not know about yourself that if you knew, you would ask for, but because you don't know, well, you have no concept of it, you have no perception. So the reason why this comes up in this position is because this is about you releasing the need to control. Now, that message comes up a lot lately. And us humans like to control. Control makes us feel in charge, like we are in control, like we are preventing things from going sideways, that we are making sure everything is going to be fine. But at the end of the day, when we exert too much control, we control ourselves out of happiness. If you are in transitions, and I'm sure you are, and if you are not yet, you will be. Just wait the next 7 years. I believe Uranus is gonna kick up a whole bunch of stuff for all of us. It is all about old, outdated structures. It's about old beliefs. It's about old conditioning, old patterns, anything that is connected to our false perception of safety and security. When I say false, rooted in fear, a lot of that will be knocked down eventually, process by process, day by day, thing by thing. So if you are in a process of, if you are in transitions, if you know you are in between two worlds, you are between jobs, between relationships, between different versions of yourself, between moves, between whatever it may be, it is important to obviously do whatever is necessary, do your due diligence, but leave room for the universe to play its part, because you are the creator, but so is the universe. So you are part of a co-creation process. If you only if you stick only to your ways, well, then the universe has a very hard time often giving you what you want, because oftentimes the universe wants to give things to you that appear to you in a way that you may not be used to, and you may automatically go, I don't want it. But it's not that you don't want it, it's just because it looks different than what you're used to. So I'm going to leave that aside. So if there's any changes happening in your life, if you feel like you are walking through mud, or it feels like things are not flowing or things are not changing, spend the month of March as much as you can in observation rather than trying to control things. There's much to be learned when we observe ourselves. For one, when we allow ourselves to observe ourselves, we take some level of emotional attachment out of the equation. The moment a level of an emotional attachment is out of the equation, we begin to see things more clearly. We begin to see things and patterns we haven't noticed before because we were too busy trying to control everything in our mind, in our lives, or in your lives in that case. So whatever is transpiring in the next few months for you, and based, connected to transitions or being between two different places, rather than being reactive, try your best to observe first before you react, because you might realize that upon observation, you actually realize that you don't want to keep doing the same old. You want something different, but you needed some time to pause and reflect first in order to come to that realization. And oftentimes we're too busy doing our thing that we've done for so long that we just kind of fall into this thing called autopilot. But, you didn't come here to be on autopilot. You came here to enjoy life and obviously to have your challenges, but you came here to grow. You came here to have different experiences. So no time like no time like the present for transformation to take place. And you, no different than anybody else, all the other signs, are going in your own way, in your own personal way, through some form of a transition process or transformation. The Page of Cups to me signifies a moment of feeling tenderness. So yes, this is creativity. I believe in the traditional tarot, this is creativity, but this is, to me, it's also about vulnerability. Month of March, anytime, but month of March, since we're talking about March, it's important for you to remember that vulnerability is there for a reason. What's the reason for vulnerability? It's to test your strength. So Beautifully said. Thank you. When you observe, you are less likely to fall into the trap of trying to prevent you being vulnerable, trying to fix things, trying to control things. But vulnerability can tell us a lot about who we are. Number one, it shows that we are creatures of emotional substance. And although obviously everybody knows that, knowing it and actually allowing yourself to feel it are two different things. One comes from the head, one comes from the heart. So what I'm going to say, and it's always very natural and pretty standard, that when we go through transformations, I'm saying we because I'm now becoming you, when I'm adopting you or a sign for the time of this message, anytime we go through transformation, anytime we shift, anytime we go through death and rebirth, vulnerability is bound to come up. It's just part of the course. But vulnerability is like what I was just told, is here to test our strengths. Because any vulnerability when looked at closely is really a strength if you allow it to be your strength. Now, what are some of the things that you might want to look at? I'm being asked to go back to this message here. When I tune into this card, this person, or whoever represents this person to me, they're afraid to ask for what they want. So you might, in the month of March, be presented with a situation where you will need to speak up for yourself. You will need to observe and decide what it is that you want, and you may be in a position where you will have to voice it. So this is not a time for you to be shy. And if you have been hiding under a blanket, hoping to be safe and not seen, I feel the month of March is going to offer you an opportunity to crack through that. And that can feel a little bit unnerving. There's nothing bad going on here. There's no bad things happening. As a matter of fact, everything that's happening is absolutely amazing. But we are in a process of change, so things are bound to come up. Okay, let's move on. Deep polarity is a message that I always have almost difficult time trying to evoke the message, the meaning. So I would invite you to see what it means to you. But this message basically says, if you have very polarizing views of the world and yourself, then you might want to, again, observe. What is a polarizing view? Black and white, good or bad, evil, God, black and white, I already said. Whatever polarities you live in, right, wrong, good, bad, you guys get the picture. Whatever polarities you live in that are opposing, if you live in one or the other, neither one being on permanent basis is ultimately healthy because it's not balanced. The trick is to find somewhere in the middle, whatever your middle is. Usually it's in the grays. So why would this be coming up? Because you might be living in a lot of right and wrong type ideals. But right and wrong is based on your experience. What may be right for you may not be right for me. What may be wrong for somebody else may not be wrong for me. I mean, you guys get the picture. And by living in polarized way, we rob ourselves of beautiful experiences because they don't fit our boxes. In this case, your boxes. So ask yourself these questions. What box do I live in? What box do I live in? What box am I safe in? What determines my experiences? If you believe that in order for you, for example, to have a good job or have a well-paying job, just as an example, you have to work your butt off. And that might be your belief. That's a very polarized way of looking at things, because that isn't always the case. That's your belief system. You may have seen that somewhere and you've adopted that as your truth, just as an example. But if you are someone who cares about what you do, it doesn't have to be hard, but just the fact that you care is hard work. So I think you guys get the distinction. Let me just see if there's anything else that I can show you as an example, as a metaphor. For example, if you believe that people will only accept you if you look a certain way, obviously that's a stupid metaphor, but just use that because it's very drastic. Then you kind of have to ask yourself this question, am I making myself to be somebody I'm not in order to belong? Because if that's the case, it's gonna be hard. You can never be somebody you're not, and if you're trying to be, you're not being yourself. And not being yourself will only sustain you for so long until something breaks. Because at the end of the day, you're here to be true to you. And that doesn't mean you can't wear a certain mask throughout the day. We all do. We wake up in the morning, go to work, put on a certain mask in order to do what we are needed to do. But you guys get the picture. If you are not living your truth, and if you're constantly trying to be someone you are not in order to be liked, in order to be loved, in order to be important, in order to be supported, in order to be viewed as valuable, whatever that is, you are constantly trying to fit a box. You're not meant to live in a box. And perhaps that is what you are transitioning into. And polarity is, there's a lot of resistance when it comes to polarity, polarized view. Why would there be resistance? Because, well, why would there be resistance with polarized view? If you only see black and white and there is no room for anything else, the moment the universe tries to give you something and it doesn't look in your particular way, it doesn't fit in your box, you are far more likely to reject it and resist it. Now, the thing might be that whatever the universe is giving you or providing you is something amazing, but it doesn't fit your ideals, not yet anyway, and you might have a propensity to want to push it away. That often happens with transitions. When we go through transitions, when we go through this birth and rebirth process, or death and rebirth, we're often faced with challenges that, when taken as an opportunity to learn something about ourselves, can remarkably open us up. Or we can be faced with challenges, which is part of life, and we fit those challenges in our boxes, black or white, and then we try to do the best we can. But some things are not black and white. I don't have an example of what to give you, but they're showing me, there's a piano music playing in the background, and they're showing me on a piano the keys are both black and white, and both are important. If you only play the white keys, then your music will not be as rich. If you only play the white keys. If you only play the black keys, the music will not be as rich. You need both in order to create beautiful music. And that's a beautiful metaphor of life in general. Okay, let me move on. The next message you have is black leak patterning. Again, rigid thinking, strict, certain strict ideals, very rigid belief system. You notice this person, there's a lot of orange and yellow. The trust here is signified, as well as creation, which is the solar plexus. Perhaps your idea of creativity is very rigid. Perhaps you think of creativity as painting or drawing, where in fact you can be creative with anything. You can work in a factory and be creative in your own way. Whatever it is that you look at creativity, that you think of whatever you think of as creative, it doesn't necessarily involve art. It involves creative way of looking at things, which also means from various different perspectives. In order to have various different perspectives, you can't live in a black and white world. You can't live in polarity, because polarity is either or. Perspectives are from different sides. So I think you guys get what I'm saying. Now, there seems to be tremendous need to belong. There is absolutely nothing with needing to belong. It's actually critical for human survival, because in order to survive as species, we need to feel like we belong. So spend time with people who are like-minded, not necessarily people who are rigid, but people who have similar values as you. But there's a caveat here. Caveat? Make sure that you don't do anything in order to belong that goes against your integrity. If you make yourself small because you're trying to be liked, not gonna work, baby. Okay, you're transitioning out of that. If you feel like you have to give up your own, I don't know, sense of who you are in order to be accepted by somebody, ain't gonna work. It'll always come up and bite you in the ass. Pardon my French. So it is important to belong, but it is important to find belonging within yourself first and foremost. So if there's anything around you in your life over the next 3 months that requires you to be a part of something, make sure that you do not sacrifice your own integrity or your own value in order to be there. Now, sometimes we need to do things despite the fact that we may not want to. And we do that on a regular basis. It's called sacrifice. It's called being noble. It's called being all these things. Those are all wonderful things. What I'm talking about is when your integrity suffers and you basically have to put yourself somewhere in the corner, like you don't matter and you have to become somebody else, chances are it will not bring you happiness, whatever that is. I'm going to leave that because I feel like I just want to leave this. The 10 of Wands is a message of feeling overburdened. And I feel you guys had this message quite a few times, so it seems to be consistent. I want to say this is you breaking away from feeling overburdened. Now, I did mention that there is sacrifice message coming up several times. So if you have been feeling burdened, either by thoughts, either by choices, decisions that made you sacrifice your own integrity, your own beliefs, your own sense of who you are, then it's time to let that go. And notice if that hasn't been a pattern for you in your life. Notice if you haven't tried to fit yourself into some box in order to belong. Notice if you haven't set your own integrity or your own sense of value aside because you wanted to make somebody happy. If that is the case, just in the month of March, observe why you do that. What is so important about what it is that you're getting that you have to let go of your own integrity, you have to let go of your own sense of who you are. Nothing is as important. Nothing. Now, some of you may argue, but I think you guys know what I mean. The number 7 is shown to me, but you guys are also July babies. So the number 7, July, for some of you, this may be for those of you who are born in July, may resonate with message much more intensely. 7 is the number of enlightenment. And when we go through transitions, oftentimes we have light bulb moments when the light comes on, and all of a sudden, things become clear. You heard, can't speak. You understand the idea behind light bulb coming off. It's the aha moment. It's the eureka moment. So be patient with yourself over the next few weeks and few months. I feel like we are all undergoing amazing changes. And always remember, your world is a reflection of you, of your thoughts, of your beliefs, of your subconscious beliefs, which is your wiring. So it is important to know where your mind goes. If your mind goes towards negativity, your life will seem that way to you. If you focus on gratitude and what's positive in your life, you will bring more of that to you. So this is about focused attention, but it's through observation. When we observe ourselves, particularly in situations that are trying, and we remove ourselves from the equation and we watch ourselves on the screen without the emotions attached to it, we can often, if not almost always, see quite clearly what it is that we're struggling with. And from that point of view, we can draw conclusions that often help us move on our way, push through whatever that difficulty is. Again, the number 7 comes up. I feel July is important for you, aside from the fact that it's your birthday for some of you. But to me, it's a number of reflection, and it's a number of enlightenment. So I want to say, have faith in yourself, have faith in the universe. The universe always wants what's best for you, but you may not know what best for you is. You may have these ideas that you know what good or bad is, but the fact is you only know based on what you know. You don't know what you don't know. And when something appears to you, you may automatically resist because it may not appear to you the way you want it to appear. But that doesn't mean that it's not good. It just means its appearance may be deceiving to you. So it's time to step aside and take a different look. And with that said, I think I want to leave that with you. Interesting message. This was mostly inspired, mostly intuitive. So I hope this makes sense. Makes no sense to me, obviously. But I hope this makes sense to you at some point. If it doesn't make sense to you right away, give it some time and listen to it again, and I have a feeling it'll make sense to you. Like I said, these messages are not time-bound. There's no timestamp on it because the energy is fluid. So this may have happened already. You may be in the midst of it, or it will be transitioning in your life or into your life in a very near future. And so just take a look sometime later to see if this is resonating with you. Of course, for private messages or for private sessions, that information is down below. I wish you best of luck. Take care of yourself. Remember, observe more so than react. And I look forward to seeing you soon. Take care.